Hello beautiful people, welcome to my channel. My name is Sabrina Kumwa, aka Brina. You are watching Brina's Code. This is my little tech corner on the internet. A little bit about me. So I'm a speaker, singer, and senior software engineer at Nvidia. And in this video, I want to share more about that story. I want to share the story of how I went from being 11 years old in Ivory Coast, learning how to code at a cybercafé because I didn't even have internet in my house, to now working as a senior software engineer at Nvidia and getting promoted at 25. Like, so much went down, so much happened, and I think this is just gonna be a good story time today. So get comfortable, okay? I already have my little blanket here. If you gotta go grab your wine, go grab your wine. If you gotta go grab your tea, your coffee, do what you gotta do, because we're about to get into the story time right now. It all starts here. So I was born in Virginia, in Alexandria, Virginia, in the US, to two Ivorian parents. So my dad and my mom, both from Ivory Coast. My dad emigrated to the United States from Ivory Coast, and he was working as an economist for a lot of big institutions at the time. So we lived in Virginia, in Ivory Coast, and in Senegal. These are two beautiful West African countries, and they are on the coast of West Africa, and they are also French-speaking countries. So my entire family speaks French. I also speak French, and so I was raised bilingual. I could speak French at home, but I went to school and I spoke English. That's because my parents wanted to make sure that, I knew how to speak English and I could easily reintegrate American society if I were to come back. So they wanted to make sure that I knew how to speak English. I would speak English at school, French at home, and that was literally my life, raised fully bilingual. And that taught me a lot of context switching skills and code switching skills like crazy, because it was just two different worlds all the time. And that was a little bit of my childhood. I had a beautiful early childhood. Everything was great. And I had so many beautiful memories of living in Senegal and things like that, until my dad lost his job. When my dad lost his job, our entire world went crashing down, literally. Maybe that's a little exaggerated, but let's just say our lives drastically changed. His job was responsible for holding us down financially, and for also paying for my American school tuition, like my English school tuition. So when my dad lost his job and we moved back to Ivory Coast, things just completely changed in my life and in my family's life. It was very, very tough financially, because at the time my mom's store, it was hard for her to sustain the entire family just through her income from the shop as a fashion designer, like a small fashion design shop, and her income as a French teacher in the Ivorian public schools. So she was getting paid very little. So it was very hard for my family to take care of my brother and me, and my school was very expensive because I was going to an English school and my brother was going to a French school, like an Ivorian school. And so although my parents could afford my school fees, like my tuition, for a little while, I think after 1 year or 2 years of my dad losing his job, I was pulled from school. I was pulled out of school. Yeah, so I was pulled out of school at like probably 8 or 7, and that was a very traumatic experience for me, because I was a kid who was very, bright, very intelligent. Like, I just wanted to work, and I love going to school, and I love going to class, and I love coming back home and talking about what I learned and what the teachers were showing in class. And then it's time for me to go to 4th grade, and I find out at the beginning of the school year that I'm not going to school. And it was very hard for my parents to tell me that. And in their mind, what they were hoping was that I would basically start school a little bit later than the other kids, and they would work things out, get the money up, and then send me to school for the rest of the year, right? So at first, I was okay with that. I was like, oh, I'm starting in a few weeks. Okay, cool. So a few weeks go by, and I'm like, so when am I starting school? And it was just weird and hard for them to explain this to a kid. The reason I could not start school was because my report card, English is hard. My card was blocked. My report card was blocked by the school because my parents could not financially could not pay to get it back so that they could enroll me somewhere else. And that was a problem because I could not go to a French school because I hadn't done my schooling in French. And so if I had to go to a French school, I would probably have to start from kindergarten, although I was like 8 or 9. So that was just very hard to navigate. And so my report card was literally unlocked by the school because my parents couldn't pay for it. At the time, it was just very hard for me to understand these things. Months go by, weeks go by, months go by, and I'm still at home. And my parents were still trying to work things out to get me to school as quickly as possible. But that eventually led to me not going to school for a year. So I was pulled out of school for a year. I avoided my friends. When they invited me to birthday parties, at first I would go because, you know, it was like, oh yeah, like, when are you coming back, Sabrina? Oh, I'm coming back in a few weeks. But then a few weeks turned into a few months. So I try to avoid all these kids from school because I didn't want them to know that we were struggling and that that's the reason why I couldn't go to school. Like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. And so that's how I ended up spending a year at home at like 8 or 7 after I had previously gone to school for reasons that I could not control. And that's why I think I empathize a lot with just knowing that you're gifted, knowing that you have capacity, knowing that you have talent, and for reasons that are outside of your control, whether it be the economy, whether it be disease or sickness, whether it be financial complication, you are unable to operate at the potential that you know that you have. That was my story at that age, and that completely changed my life and my philosophy on hard work and working. So I'm at home for a year, right? I'm at home for a year, minding my business, okay, just trying to keep busy, rereading my same books over and over. And I fell in love with just being on my computer, literally. I had a lot of time in the day to just be on my computer. I'm on my computer, I'm playing around with the settings, I'm playing around with Windows. It was literally my window into the world because I had nothing else to do. So it's actually so crazy to me how that year of seemingly me doing nothing, like, it was a gap year as a child, which is weird, but that year of me doing nothing actually led to me just being on my computer all the time and falling in love with technology. So I would play around, I would go into the settings, I would be on Word. Like, I did not have the internet for the longest time, so I had to find a way to keep busy with my video games and just playing things and things like that. So that's what I was doing all day long until my family got me internet. So having internet at that time was like a whole ordeal. It wasn't very common, at least where I was. So they got me internet. I still remember the day the person who came to install it on my computer, and I remember seeing Google, and I was so happy and excited. And so from there, I had read before in a magazine, a little girl's magazine, that this girl created her own blog on Blogger. So I was like, what's that? What's Blogger? So I went on the internet and I created my own blog on Blogger. And that's how this whole journey started for me, because it came from a time where I was literally trying to keep busy. I didn't know what to do with my time. And so as a kid, I was like 8 or 9. I'm just on my computer all the time and trying to learn skills and trying to keep myself current. And my parents were trying their best, you know, financially. It was very hard for our family at the time, and they kept thinking that things would get better. So guys, in the midst of all of these financial trials, we did have some silver linings, and this one actually happened right before I got pulled out of school. So it was a little bit before that. I begged my parents, I asked them to let me participate in a kids beauty contest called Miss Noel, or in English, Miss Christmas. And my mom made my clothes at her shop. My uncle printed ads to ask people to vote for me. I did the competition and I won, okay? And because of that, I was able to do some paid advertisements. I was able to get my mom's shop to be more popular because people were wondering where I got my clothes done. And that definitely helped my family get some money. But most importantly, the real prize of that contest was food, okay? Like actual food. Like, it was like, congratulations, you won some food, you won some groceries. Like, we won milk powder, bottled water, and rice, okay? So literally, I was feeding the family through my beauty career. I was a top model and a top provider. So when my brother was trying to eat the food that I put on the table, I used to go cry to my mom and complain that he's trying to eat the food that he didn't even work for. I'm like, you didn't work for this. Did you work for this food? No, you did not. So sit down. And this was just a season that showed me that even though we didn't have money, we did have the favor of God. Okay, now let's just continue with the story here. So after that year, my parents come, they sit me down, and they're like, Sabrina, you're ready to go back to school. You know, we were able to work things out, you know. And they're like, okay, so would you like to go to America and live with your aunt and your uncle and continue school from there, to basically save me the pain of having to go back with all these kids that had moved forward and I was still there. So they asked me if I wanted to come to the US to go to school. So I was like, sign me up. Sign me up, sign me up, take me up. So that's how I ended up in Maryland for 4th grade. Mind you, because I had missed a year, that year I was actually supposed to be a 5th grader, but I ended up being a 4th grader because I went for a year not going to school in the middle, right? So I get to 4th grade in America, in Maryland, and my family, my parents, my uncle and my auntie were trying to help me take a test so that they could measure my aptitudes and see if I could fit one of the more advanced classes. Now, the school did not honestly believe in me. They didn't think to test me because perhaps for a number of reasons, you know, I don't want to judge anyone, but perhaps they thought that, you know, oh, what does she know? That's how I took it. I took it as like, what does she know? You know, where is she coming from? Wherever she's coming from, what does she know? You know, so my family had to fight for me to get the opportunity to even get tested for the advanced classes. And that's another reason why I believe that every single person should be given their shot. You cannot judge someone because you think they come from the middle of nowhere or they don't have the skill set if you haven't given them the opportunity to prove themselves. And so I was about to be deprived of the opportunity to take that test simply because maybe they didn't know where the heck I was coming from or where the heck my old school used to be. And if my family hadn't fought for me in that way, all this other stuff that I'm about to explain probably wouldn't have happened. And the other stuff in question is that I took the test and they were able to realize that, oh, she has a level for 5th grade. So even though I didn't go to 4th grade and I was supposed to be in 5th grade that year, from my test alone, they determined that I was actually, I was apt to get into the gifted and talented class. So amazing! So I got into the gifted and talented class. So I'm 4th grader, but I'm doing 5th grade work. And I worked so hard that year because I was like, hey, I'm actually doing 5th grade work right now, even though I didn't do 4th grade. So what if this means that one day I can go back to my actual class? Because the next year, all the kids that I was supposed to be with were going to start middle school, but I was still in 4th grade. So I was like, if I can do the 5th grade work really, really well, maybe somehow I could end up in 6th grade with everyone else. And so that just made me a kid that was always thinking about school and always thinking about getting ahead, because literally I got set back for a situation that was outside of my control. And I needed to find my way back. So after that year in the States, I told my parents that I wanted to go back to Ivory Coast to stay with them because I really missed my family. But I loved the year that I spent with my aunt and my uncle. It was so great. And my little cousin, my baby cousin, who's like my little sister. So I had a beautiful year, but I was still a kid and I just missed my family. I missed my parents. So I went back to Ivory Coast, and now it's time for me to either start 5th grade or middle school. So I tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, I want to do middle school. Find a way to get me to middle school, okay? I need to go to middle school. And my mom was like, okay. So she found another English school that was more affordable for her. Oh, and by the way, I get to Ivory Coast and I realized my parents were divorced. So that's a whole other topic. But I found out they're divorced. I'm living with my mom. It is what it is. Got to keep it pushing. My mom gets me into this school. And I think they probably just skimmed through my report card or something, because they didn't realize that homegirl did not go to 5th grade. Because my mom, she walked in there and she's like, oh, this is my daughter Sabrina. she's ready for 6th grade. They're like, okay, so they made me take a test to go to 6th grade, and I passed the test, okay? I passed the test to go to 6th grade. And so literally, I finessed everybody, and I did not do 5th grade. I went from 4th grade, missing my year, then straight to 6th grade because I caught up. By the grace of God, I just caught up, okay? And so that gave me a certain hunger. When I tell you I was hungry, I started 6th grade hungry. Because I was like, I went through so much pain seeing these kids like that I'm supposed to be with you know the lines, you know when the kids like line up for stuff and you see the 5th graders. I couldn't be a 5th grader because I was supposed to be a 5th grader, but I wasn't, you know, I didn't go to school. Like, that's literally what happened. So I started 6th grade charged up because I was like, God gave me a shot. You know, he helped me come back to the level that I'm supposed to be at. So I need to prove to them that I'm the best, and so that this never happens to me ever again. So I started 6th grade completely charged up. I was like, I'm going to come here and I'm going to fight for my position or for my life or whatever I thought I was fighting for. So I started 6th grade with so much like hunger. And from 6th grade to 12th grade at that school, I think I probably had straight A's every single term, I think. I think I got straight A's my entire journey to college because that's how much hunger and desperation I had. Like, I was traumatized as a kid. I was like, this was my trauma. I was like, no, this cannot happen to me again. This will not happen to me again. And so I worked so hard throughout my entire school year. Shout out to my school, Morning Glory International School in Ivory Coast. They took such great care of me. Shout out to the headmistress because the school really did so much for me and my mom, okay? So I had so much hunger and passion, and I was a leader in the school. So I was hosting events. I was leading cheerleading. I was on the debate club. I was the head girl in 12th grade. So I was doing just so much. And I remember this one time I was like, I really want a scholarship. Like, I prayed for a scholarship. I was like, God, can you help me get a scholarship out of nowhere? And I literally got a scholarship out of nowhere. One year, they informed my mom that she was not going to be paying for my tuition because of my contributions to the school. And I literally gave my mom a break. That was probably one of the most beautiful gifts I could have given her at the time because she was struggling so hard to keep me in school and to be able to afford my life, my brother's life, everything with her shop and everything going on. And it was so hard, and my dad was still not working, and it was just a lot of issues. And that year, we just got a scholarship. That's how my life just kept changing, you know? I got a scholarship that year. The year after that, I got another scholarship because I was the top of my class for my exam, so I got another scholarship. The year after that, I think I got another scholarship too because they worked with my mom to help me in my life and my education. So I'm sharing all of this, and we haven't even gotten to the coding part, which I'm about to get to finally. But I'm sharing all of this so you can understand where some of that drive and that hunger came from. You know, I felt the pain of knowing that you have potential, knowing that you can do so much more, but not having the resources to go for it until, you know, people helped me. My family helped me. My aunt, my uncle helped me. The school helped me by giving us these scholarships back to back to back, 3 scholarships. And so, yeah, so now I'm about to get into the coding story, okay? But you had to understand the education part because they're all interconnected. So how did I actually get into coding and how did I start coding? So if you recall from the beginning of the story, I was sharing that I was at home just playing around with my computer all the time, right? So that was the seed. During that time, I also felt like I played a lot of Sims, I played a lot of video games, so I was trying to learn how to mod my games and add elements into my games. And that is what sparked the entire like, oh, I can use my computer to do really fun creative stuff. So I was designing clothing for my Sims. I was doing my little blog on Blogger. Literally had the time, so much time to do this stuff. And so in 6th grade, when I started 6th grade, there was also a period of time where my mom and I lived at my cousin's house because my mom was still working on getting her own house situated so we could live together. So we were living at my cousin's house. At my cousin's house, it was an apartment. He lived right on top of a cybercafé. A cybercafé is a place where you go to use the internet when you don't have internet at home, or to like print, kind of like a little UPS, you know, those like computer stations. That's what a cyber cafe essentially is, and we live right above one. So after school, as a computer lover, I would just go there and I would go on the internet, and I discovered this website where you could learn as a kid to create your own games. And I was like, oh, I can make my own like Sims. I could play like my own games. And on that website, I learned the concept of variables, which was interconnected to what I was also doing in Sims. Like, you know, hunger. Is your Sims hungry? Is your Sim thirsty? Is your Sim tired? And when I was making my own game, I learned the concept called variables, and which is actually a coding concept where I could like measure things of my characters in the game. So in 6th grade, I learned how to create those games, and I would go to school and have my friends play the games. I would ask my friends to design dolls for my games, and I would put them there. So all of those things made me find that like creating websites and games was a fun activity. I never thought of it as work. Like I was having a blast the whole time. And there was a period of time where I lived briefly with my best friend because the country was going through like political tensions, and there was essentially like a war. I find out that I can't go back home. I have to live with my best friend. It was like a whole thing with my best friend's family rather. And so I lived with her family, and she had internet. She had internet in her house, okay? So in her house, I learned JavaScript, because previously at the cyber cafe I had learned HTML and CSS. In her house I learned JavaScript, because I went from I want to build my own game on this platform to I want to learn my website. I want to learn how to make websites from scratch. So I learned JavaScript at my best friend's house. I already knew HTML and CSS, and I remember her just being like, girl, what are you doing? Like, can we play the game now? Like, can we watch the movie now? What is this, Sabrina? Like, what is this? And I was just like, this is fun, girl. Like, this is fun. I'm making a website. And to her, it was like so boring. It was so boring. But I was so excited, and I just love making my little websites. And so that's when I went from like HTML, CSS to JavaScript. And throughout my entire middle school career, I was just improving on my skills. And I think in 6th grade or 7th grade or so, I got my first laptop. So my uncle gave us a laptop. One of my uncles in France, like he gave my mom a laptop for me, and it was a beautiful HP Pavilion laptop, a very big, heavy laptop. Like I was so small, carrying that thing was so hard, but like that laptop had a little green sticker. Yeah, a little green sticker with the eye. Do you catch what I'm saying? You catch what I'm saying? Yes. It had the Nvidia logo on my laptop, and I soon discerned that, you know, if you go in the settings and you play with the little eye, it makes your graphics better. And I was like, huh, oh, my Sims look so much better when I activate this little green eye. I didn't know what a graphic card really was, but that's actually how I got introduced with Nvidia. I was like, oh, this is making my video games look better. And that's just how I discovered Nvidia, the company that I would end up working at full-time right after college. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like, I can't believe that actually worked out that way, but it did. I mean, throughout high school, I was just developing my skill set. I was creating applications. I created a full stack application that was essentially my first startup, because it was like a website that allows people to buy and sell cosmetics called AfriBelle. So that was my very first startup, you guys. Like, AfriBelle. You get it? You track it? AfriBelle. AfriBelle. So I was like literally networking with people in the community, trying to get them to sell on my website. I got a few people to actually accept to sell their products on my website. I've made very little sales in terms of transactions, but my friends were very supportive of me, and it was like a whole thing. And I got to talk about that in my college applications essays. I said, hey, I created this platform. I built the front end. I built the back end. I used Angular and Node.js and MongoDB. So that's what I was really about. And I wrote that in my college application essays. And I applied for a full scholarship at Marymount University in Virginia. And drum roll, I got the full scholarship. That completely changed my life because I was able to give my mom another break. I knew that we would not be able to afford college in America. I mean, think about it. We couldn't even afford school for the longest in Ivory Coast. So college in America was a whole different ballgame. And I did know that I wanted to come back to the United States for my college education. And I also knew that that scholarship would be my only ticket to go. So I worked my entire ass off like throughout my 4 years of high school, because I was like, this is my ticket. This is my way out. So this is how I need to work and apply pressure to get my full scholarship. And I did, by the grace of God, get that scholarship. I remember seeing my mom's face when I announced to her that I was getting the scholarship. She was so happy. Probably one of the best days of our lives, you know. Okay, guys, so for this next section, I'm going to go a little bit faster because I want to make sure that this video is not too long, okay? So let's get into it. So when I got that full ride scholarship, I could finally breathe. Like, I had peace. It was fully, like, they fully covered my college education. My mom could rest. I could rest. You know, for the first time in years, I didn't have to worry about money, and I became financially independent. So we did it. That's me finally making it to college and just being able to just chill, okay? Because the past few years were a long ride. So in college, I did a couple of jobs and internships. I was working as a coding TA, which really taught me how to work with a large code base and manage other people's code and become confident in that regard. So when it was time to apply for internships, I applied at Nvidia because I remember, you know, that company from a board when I was looking for internships, and I was like, wait, that's a company that they had their logo on my computer. I should probably go there. And so I did, and Nvidia hired me full-time after my internship, and I graduated from my class summa cum laude, and this is me here. Oh, wait, that's not me. That's Michelle Obama. Okay, there you go. That's me. So I pushed the degree, and my aunt and uncle organized a beautiful goodbye party for me after my graduation, and everyone said goodbye to me because I was headed to California for my first full-time job at Nvidia. So when I got to Nvidia, you know, I came happy, I came grateful, I came hungry. I was just so eager to prove myself and to make my mark on the team. And I took all my projects seriously. I worked really hard. I got 2 promotions. So first promotion from level 1 to level 2, then level 2 to level 3. And I became a senior software engineer at Nvidia at 25. Now, this section is called the goodness of God. First off, if you've made it to the end of this video, if you've made it thus far in the video, I want to thank you so much for making time to hear my story and to appreciate my journey. I call this section the goodness of God. This is making me really emotional, but I call this section the goodness of God because I recorded the video about a week ago, and now I watched the video and I'm like, I need the final section to be all about giving God the glory. As you've seen from everything I just shared, I went through so many setbacks or hard situations that God redeemed, right? So first off, the year I didn't go to school, I go to school and then I end up going to school in America, I come back, and all of a sudden the year that I missed, it's almost like that never happened because I ended up exactly where I was supposed to be. I start school, you know, my parents are separated now. My mom is the one doing everything for me financially. And all of a sudden, you know, there's like hardship, but God has just provided over and over again. That one year I prayed, I was like, God, we need help to afford this school. Like, can you give us a scholarship out of nowhere? That same year, the school created, like they fabricated a scholarship just for me. It was the celebration of the headmistress, and she said we're gonna award some students scholarships, and they gave me a scholarship that year. I was the only one who received that kind of award. It was the first time they had ever done something like that. And then after that, I get a scholarship to like 2 more scholarships, I think, in high school. And then my final year, so to go to college, full ride to Marymount University. After that, I get my internship at Nvidia, start working full-time at Nvidia. I get promoted to senior software engineer in 2 years, so 2 promotions back to back. I call this section the goodness of God because God has been so faithful to me. I'm getting emotional, but God remembers all the tears that I cried, that my mom cried, that my family members cried for me, because they knew I had so much potential and talent, but we didn't have the resources. But God made it possible for us to have the resources for me to express my talent, express my knowledge, and I just have to give God all the glory. It was only by His grace and His mercy that any of this happened. You know, throughout those years, there were many times I fell sick. You know, my mom, different things happening at the shop. Like, she got sued. Like, her employees were doing... So it's like so much happened that God delivered us from. And I'm making this video because a lot is going on in the world. It's very easy to get discouraged right now. But the mercy of God can take you so much further. Like, yes, I had skills, talent, intelligence, and hard work. Like, you know, I did have that grit and that resilience, but most importantly, I had the grace, the favor, and the mercy of God, because God just took care of me. So whatever it is you're going through in life right now, I just encourage you to trust in the mercy of God. Ask for the mercy of God. Pray for the mercy of God. He will deliver. Like, He has delivered, and He will continue to deliver. And I just also want to thank all the people that have helped me on my journey. So obviously my mom and dad, my aunts and uncle in America, multiple aunties and uncles in America, and all around the world, like wherever my family is from, my friends, my best friends who have like prayed with me, supported me, my brothers, my cousins, my job, obviously, you know, like my company, my managers, my entire team that always like supports me and like boosts me. Like, my managers are fantastic, you know, so shout out to DMO. Yeah, so I'm just reflecting, and I just want you to remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember your story. When you're doing things and it gets hard, remember. Like, when I was going through all my problems, and even now when I have issues, I just remember how God has been faithful to me in the past, and I'm like, He didn't bring me this far to leave me this far. So I want to encourage you to trust in the mercy of God. I didn't deserve everything. You know, I mean, I worked for it, but it's not like I'm better than the next person, for real. So pray for the mercy of God. Pray for the goodness of God in your life. And I truly pray for you that whatever it is that you're hoping for, you know, if it's a new job, new career, more money, more opportunities, I want you to be encouraged that, you know, God can do anything in your life. His mercy endures forever. And I'm gonna leave you guys with a little song because I'm a singer, clearly, ta-da! But I'm not playing the piano right now. I don't know how to play this on the piano, so I'm just gonna sing it. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath I am grateful. I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, share this video with your friends and loved ones. Love you guys. Bye.
Happy birthday to me. That I'm walking in the light. Happy birthday to me. Got the power in my stride. Happy birthday to me. No weapon can prosper. Ain't nobody gonna come and down my last life. I am a sign and a wonder like my savior. He be leading me to places. Happy birthday to me. I can feel it in the air. Smells like celebration. I'm embracing all the glory coming in my season. Creation's been waiting for this manifestation. I'm taking back what's mine, coming for my own. I have the mind of Christ and clarity. I need to go, cause I am headed for the top. No, I'm staying low. The words I'm speaking coming back with their hands